Hello, this is Noreen from Joya Cards, and today I'm making a little gnome thank you card. So this one's kind of a tricky one, but it'll be fun. So what I'm using today is gnome for the holidays, of course, for the gnome and the tree. I'm using Walk in the Woods because inside I used a little hedgehog there, and the sentiment and the mushrooms, of course. Frame for you, I'm using this little twig right here. Someone special, I'm using a little flower he's holding, and also the little butterfly that's on top of the mushroom. Mountain air I'm using for the sun and the clouds and the birds. And my meadow I'm using for the little grass right here and the little flowers that are right there. So, and then the only die I'm using is ornate frames, and I'm using this little guy right here. So let's get started. So the base of the card is going to be Poppy Parade, just a regular 5.5 by 4.25. And then inside I did a cinnamon cider, and this is just a 5.5 by 4.25 or by 4, and I'm going to put this right in here. And then the white here is actually a whisper white. And what we're going to do, and the reason why I did whisper white is because I'm doing coloring. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab our old olive and the sentiment. The world needs more of what you are. And I put on the label a little crooked, so I know I have to tweak this just a little bit, and I'm going to put it right up here. Okay. I'm going to stamp in Memento the little hedgehog here, and I'm going to just put him right in the corner like so. Now we need to color in our little hedgehog, and what we're going to be using is cinnamon cider and soft suede. So I'm going to take my cinnamon cider first, and I'm going to ink up a block. I got a block already here, and I'm going to take half of it, and I'm going to put some cinnamon cider right there. Next, I'm going to take the new water painter, and it comes in this little package, and it has a fat brush, it has a medium brush like we're used to, and it has a really thin one. And I'm going to take this thin one, and I'm going to take that ink that I just put on the block here, and I'm going to color in everything that's black. So all its little fur, and I'm going to make sure that I avoid the eyes here, and I'm going to give them a little color under here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in all those lines, and I'll be right back. Now I went ahead and did all the outline with the cinnamon cider, and I'm going to now take the block and ink up some soft suede. Make sure that you cleaned off your brush. You should have a little paper towel here and just clean it off. And then I'm going to put in some soft suede. I'm going to put it everywhere except around the eyes. Now, first you're going to have a lot of ink on there, so use that around the edge first, because we're going to get down to the point where there won't be a lot of ink on it, and that's when you want to do the belly. Don't do it when your brush has too much ink on it, okay, because it does come off kind of dark on the block. Then just fill in any places you might want a little more dark, just kind of finishing him up a little bit. And I also did not paint on the eyes or the nose. All right. Now just nail him just right in the middle, and that is the inside of the card. Now the outside of the card, I'm going to take a piece of designer series paper. This is from Playing with Patterns, and I cut it the size of the paper, so 5.5 by 4.25. Of course, when you're putting it on, open the card and go at the ends first and lay it down. So that's the simplest part. So let's put that on the side. Now we're going to grab our shimmery white paper. Make sure that it's shimmery white, and we're going to start doing some stamping and some mask making. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to stamp in the heavy white paper, the mushrooms, the tree, the gnome with the striped hat, 2 of the clouds, and the sun. So, and after you stamp them, you're going to cut them out and you're going to make a mask, because we're going to be doing some blending here and we need to cover it up. So the first thing you have to do is stamp. So we're going to do the mushrooms first. So I'm going to grab my memento and I'm going to put it on, and then I'm also going to grab my Stampin' Right marker on the thick side and go over it. I really want this to be nice and dark, and this particular stamp is one of those stamps that doesn't stamp, you know, solid. So we're just going to fill it in a little bit more here, and then we want to put this all the way over to the side, on the left side and the bottom. So right about here. Okay, now you're going to take that mask, and I use this really crummy tape here. It's this teal stuff from the big box store, and I'm going to use it as the mask tape, because this stuff is terrible, but what it's great for is masks, because it doesn't really hold anything down, but it's great for doing something like this. So I'm going to put the mask over it. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is stamp our gnome. Now the gnome is tricky because we do not want, if you look in on the stamp, we don't want the mistletoe and we don't want the Christmas ornament. This is not a Christmas card. So we're going to take our Stampin' Right marker. These are like $4 in the catalog. And if you go to the contents of my video, you'll see a link that'll take you right to my Stampin' Up page, because I am a demonstrator, and you can order one directly through me. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to ink up everything except the ornament. We're going to grab his little hand though. You grab his hand and the side of his clothing here and his shoes. Got them all inked. I'm going to braid them just because. And I'm going to put him right here. All right. Get the stamp as black as you'd like. Just take your Stampin' Right black pen and very, very carefully go over it. Okay, so that's good. Now we're going to take the mask that we made and put that over him like so. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp the little house. Now this house has Christmas ornaments on it. We don't want that. So we're going to grab our Stampin' Right marker again, and I'm going to color in everything except those lights. So just kind of, just so carefully go around it. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. So I've put the ink on everything except for those lights, and now I'm going to breathe on it because it's been a minute. Do it like the old-fashioned way. And then I'm going to stamp this right here. Okay, great. So you're going to now take and you're going to fill in the lines where the tree would have been if it didn't have any lights. So I'm just going to take my marker again. I'm going to take that mask for the house, put a little bit of that crummy tape on, and put that over the top. Alrighty. Now I'm going to grab the clouds, and we're going to be taking Balmy Blue. So here's the cloud stamp, and we're going to do Balmy Blue, and we're going to stamp one like here. Take another one and stamp one right here. Take the masks for the clouds and put them on top. Okay, now we need to do the sun. So we're going to grab the little moon from Mountain Air. Also the clouds are from Mountain Air. just going to stamp that up and put it right here in the corner. Okay, and take the sun mask and put it over the sun. Now grab that Stampin' Up sponge and cut it to 6 little wedges and do some balmy blue, and we're going to do the sky. So I put some on my pad and I'm going to stamp off a little bit. I'm going to hold down my masks even though they've got tape on them. Oopsie, get the sun back over there. And go ahead and ink and try to do circles as much as possible. All right, when you get down to the mushroom here, make sure when you cut this mask to the mushroom, you cut this open here so we can get some sky through that. And I'm going to take it to about here on the reeds, and I'm going to take it all the way to about here on the mushroom. Okay. And then I'm also going to put in just a little bit of Pool Party. Oopsie. Just to shake it up a bit. Okay. Now for the grass area. So I'm going to grab some Granny Apple Green and Old Olive. And go ahead and do this. Hold down your mask so they don't move anywhere. And go right up to that blue. Take some Old Olive and kind of do the same thing. Now before I pull off all the masks, I'm actually going to do the flowers. So I'm going to start with, and we've got Calypso Coral, Magenta Madness, and Melon Mambo here. So let me start with Calypso Coral, and I'm going to make a little path. Make sure that you keep your gnome on. Okay, I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to use my chamois and just rub that off. And then Magenta Madness. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay, wipe that off. Melon Mambo. We can go ahead and take the masks off. So let's take all the masks. Okay. So now we've got this. And you can go ahead and take your balmy blue. And if you want to give that a little bit of color over it so it's not so white, that's fine. Okay. All right. So let's do the mushroom first. For the mushrooms, we're going to use Cinnamon Cider and Poppy Parade, and we're going to use our black Stampin' Up pen. So I went ahead and I used my block here to put those colors on there, and I'm going to use my fine-tipped water pen, and I'm going to start with the brown. And I'm going to just take a little bit, and I'm going to do the outlines first. And as it loses color, I'll fill it in. While I'm at it, because I'm using the cinnamon cider here, I'm going to go ahead and brush a little into the weeds, and this is real important that you've got that real thin water pen here. Now we're going to do the mushrooms, and we're going to take that Poppy Parade and do the same thing. And don't worry about it being too dark, because it's going to be a little like, whoa, that's really dark. And I'm not using watercolor paper, so you know, try not to get too much water on the shimmery white. Now I'm going to take my black Stampin' Up pen, and on the thick side I'm going to draw in all the little circles for the mushroom dots. I'm going to grab some old olive and granny apple green and color another block and take that marker and start doing the grass here. So I'm going to take the darker one first, and I'm just going to go over, whoops, lines here. I'm going to take the granny apple green side and do the same thing. And I am like making new lines too. So I'm not just going over the old ones or the ones from the stamp. Now I'm just going to kind of blend them in. So I don't have any ink on my water pen. I cleaned it off, and now I'm not pushing down. I'm not making more water come out. I'm just going over it because it's still wet. Be careful of hitting too many black lines because this we didn't stamp in StazOn, so the black will run. Now while we're at it here, I'm going to take that granny apple green and I'm going to get up into the leaves here in the house. Now we're going to do the grass down below here. There's little twiggy little grass right here, and there's this little branchy here. Little branchy here is actually from Beautiful Moments. I didn't show you that in the beginning. And then the little tiny grass is from My Meadow, and it's right there. So we're going to take our old olive and granny green again. So I'm going to start with the granny green and just stamp a few. So go stamp, 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 stamp. So I'm stamping off so you get like different colors of green, not just the whole dark one all the time. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the old olive and same thing. Stamp, 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 stamp. Okay, now I'm going to grab that little twig like this, and I'm only going to use granny apple green, and I'm going to put one right here. That's why we still have the paper underneath. Okay, and I'm going to put a few here, so one there, maybe one a little lower. Okay, just like that. We still have the greens out. I want to put the more of the leaves up here, so this is from Frame From You, is right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do granny apple first. Okay, and then I'm going to do this one here. I'm going to stamp over this. Okay, maybe one more. Okay. I got some Stampin' Right markers, and I've got the light and dark granny apple green. So I'm going to start with the light, and I'm going to start filling in these little grasses at the tree, base of the tree. And also up in the top here, I'm just going to fill in those leaves. Okay, here's my dark. Also going to fill in these leaves a little bit. And I'm using the light granny apple green. Next I'm going to do is a little house here. I'm going to use light and dark cinnamon cider, and I'm going to start with the light, and I'm going to fill in the actual tree. So I'm going to do that by doing light and then skip one and then do light, because I'm doing every other little section of the tree in the different color. The dark, I'm going to fill in every other one. Now you've got that filled in. Now you're going to grab your dark mango melody and do the light in the window. Next is a door, and you're going to use light and dark crumb cake. So let's start with our light and fill in the whole door. I'm going to take the dark on the pointy end, and I'm going to use the dark on the doorknob, and then any kind of line I'm going to fill in with dark, and also the edge of the door where it's got that definition there. I'm also going to take the dark crumb cake and fill in the rocks. Now I'm going to take the flower from Someone Special, or the little flower, I pointed to the dark one, and use your memento and make sure you got him right in that hand. Okay. I'm going to now take my light poppy parade and fill in the flower here. And dark, I don't know how much it's going to make a difference because they're so small, but try to give it some definition, I guess. And then I'm going to take my dark mango melody and try to give it a center piece there. Okay. Now for the hat, I'm going to use dark pool party and dark seaside spray. And I'm going to start with the blue and start filling in the hat. Dark seaside spray, I did the hat, and I'm also going to do the shoes. Before we finish the rest of the hat, I'm going to take my dark petal pink and do the face and the nose, so don't forget about that. And his hands. Okay, now we're going to do the dark pool party and fill in the rest of the hat and also his clothes. Last thing we're going to do is take the light So Saffron and do his mustache and beard. I'm going to put in this little butterfly here, and we're going to just use Gorgeous Grape. And the reason why there's a butterfly on that original card is because I splotched on it and it's covering up a little splotch. And then I'm going to take my light purple posy and I'm going to fill this in. So it looks good, it's fine. And then I don't know if I'm going to do the birds or not. I think I'm going to leave the birds off on this one. Now, there are some white spaces here that we do need to like fill in. So take your blending pen and make sure there's nothing on it. So I'm making sure I don't have any other colors on here. And I'm going to pull the colors from wherever there's a white spot around something and fill it in. So anything blue here, now I'm going to pull into that white spot around the mushrooms. Around the tree. So grab a little of the color and then push it out there. Now we're going to make these mushrooms shiny, and we're going to put on some shimmery crystal effects. It'll be kind of cool. So that's why I kind of let everything dry here, so I didn't like smudge anything. So I'm going to put some on, and gosh, I think the best way to do it, I used my little spatula, but it made lines, so now I'm going to just use my finger. And if you don't have any of this, like I said, there is a link in my video, and you can go to my Stampin' Up site directly and order some. Also, you could win the free demo card. Oh, I forgot to mention that. So if you're a first-time subscriber and you subscribe and you put it in the comments, your email address, please. So many people have won the card that they didn't put their email, and I've tried to reply back and search for them, and there's just no way of getting to you. So put your email in the comments and say, I like the card, and you could win the demo card. I'll just email you back, get your address and everything, and stick it in the mail. So that's really cool. So that'll dry really cool and shiny. And now the last thing that we've got to do is put on the sentiment here. So I'm going to grab, now this is from Ornate Frames, and it's this little frame here, and this is curry. So we're going to go ahead and take the thank you stamp from Someone Specials right here, and our old olive. Make sure you get that on nice and dark. It's a really thin stamp, so make sure you got a lot of ink on there. Try to stamp it in the middle. Bonk. Before we put it on the card, we're going to go ahead and put what we just did on the base here. Now I'm going to snail this because we just put on that shimmery effects and it's still wet. So we don't want to mash anything down there. Okay. And then take our thank you piece and put a couple of dimensionals on it. And that's the card. And please, if you could, subscribe to my channel. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can order products from me. If you hit the little ring button when you subscribe, you'll get a notification whenever I post any new cards. So that, oh, and we left the best part off. I took these iridescent pearls and I put one on the bottom of his hat there. So that's the end of the card. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see any more videos, and click any of the links below and to place orders, and that'll do it. So thanks. Bye.